So hello, we're gonna go through kind of what is new with the sanitizing. So obviously you've been doing face painting for a while, and everyone that's gone through like the workshops or done gigs, right? There's a certain way we do face painting. We have our paints here and our brushes and our sponges right here. So we got all of our stuff, but what maybe we want to try to do is help with the sanitizing between each kid, right? So this is kind of my process, right? So I've got my brushes and water would be filled, and then I've got these 3 containers. So this one still has its label and I haven't relabeled these yet. So this says rinse. Not that you cannot remember which to use next, but labeling definitely helps. Maybe the people can see it too, what you're doing. So I have a sanitize, a toss, and a rinse, okay? And then this would also be your rinse, right? So I do rinse, sanitize, toss, and then rinse again, dry off, and then I set it to dry. And once it's dry, then you can use it again. So if you had a chance, I will post this link on there, and you can, maybe while you're here using the Wi-Fi or whatever, you can kind of check out the video of this face paint company, and they kind of went through their steps and what to do. But this is what they did. So basically, I would, you need a color, right? And let's say you're doing like a tiger. Okay, so what colors do you need for a tiger?
Orange, black, white, yellow.
Orange, black, white, yellow. Right. Okay, so you're gonna do your undercolor, and mostly with sponging, right? So it's one sponge and done. What I was doing, if you're doing something fuller, let's say you're gonna do a full tiger, which I think I did do the last weekend. I would, we try to utilize half the sponge anyway, right? So do, as much as you can on your sponge, try to utilize half if you can. Do what you need to, and then if you need to use the other side, then instead of going back into your paints a second time with that same color like we normally would, you want to do it with the other side. Does that make sense? So that you're not double dipping. We're trying to avoid double dipping. It's difficult to a point because we're kind of used to doing it a little bit because the paints we're using already are hypoallergenic. They have antimicrobial properties. We're putting the brush bath in the water. Like, it's helping to sanitize everything, right? But it's a little bit hard still to say when you're painting from one kid to the other what's going to be crossing over, right? So anyway, you're going to want to apply with the one half of the sponge. If you let's say you want to use like orange and yellow on one side and then you want to reload with white on the other side, like to do more of the white on the tiger, you could do that. So try to do one side of your sponge, or at least if you are going to double dip or you need to there's no space left to get a new sponge. Okay, so that's with sponging, right? Okay, so then what was next on a tiger? You did all your undercolor, really all you need left is like black, right? So if you're doing a whole face, you are going to probably be using a lot of black. You really want to have your paintbrush coated, and you'll probably have to go back into the paint again because you're doing everything. The goal, especially when you're doing a cheat design, as it always has been, is like load up your brush once for that color and not necessarily have to go back in, which is the process of what we're trying to do here. But if you're doing a whole face, you probably want to go back in. So what you would do is you load up your brush as usual, get your paints and all that, and instead of just going back in and getting more paint, you kind of used like one side. I did like an initial water on the brush before it has paint, then a rinse side to get the paint off, then go into sanitize. So I would do, so this is a brush cleaner. You can also use alcohol and water mixed together. So you could even just take you could literally just take like a little bit of the sanitizer with like a little bit of water, or even just maybe the straight up sanitizer because it's not going to be 100% alcohol, right? It's 6%, yeah. So then you could pour a little bit of sanitizer in there, liquid sanitizer. Like I would do like that much. Oh, yeah. So you're doing like a small amount because you're going to do it like every other brush or every single, especially if this is like super dirty, have a lot of black on it. You're going to rinse this off. Okay. Then you're going to go into your rinse. I take this off so there's no lid on top. Rinse it in your water. Okay. Get most of the sanitizer off a little bit. Dry and then sit over. I have my paintbrushes here. Okay. So what I've done for the last few gigs that I've done, I am like doing either one side, like here's my clean brush, here's my brushes to use, my dry brushes, and then here are my drying brushes in a section of like a row of like, when I do this one and then the next one I do behind it, so I know to take this one first because it's drier, right? So I kind of have a system. When I was doing my gig last Saturday, I started, it was like a train, and I would just do this, and then they keep going around, and then I put it here, and it's like, I followed it around, but you want to kind of know which ones to use next, and you really want to make sure your kit has like a good amount of brushes. I would say at least 3 mediums and 3 smalls, so you can kind of rotate through. And then you would, you're dirty. And if it's not too dirty yet, you can wait. But once it's kind of mucky, you know, you want to rinse it. And this will be your top, so you throw this away. Put this lid back on. You want to kind of put the lids back on so you're not smelling alcohol stuff. Oh no! You can't see me. There you
Sorry.
go. No, it's fine. Not that everybody's watching anyway.
Oh.
But no, it's on here so people will know. But they can watch the video too because they do a really great job explaining. But yeah, so then you'll toss in here. I kind of like to leave the lids on so you're not smelling that like alcohol and cleaner as you're painting. Because you can just smell it right now a little bit, you know. And then you would toss this. At the end, you collect it all. But then that brush should be drying. Then you pick up another brush to continue with your lines and continue with your design. And then the very end, what if they want glitter, right? So we're going to dip into, just as we would with our glitter, put the glitter on and stuff. And then I have been just using a baby wipe. I'm just like wiping off, putting it back in your section. And if I already have the baby wipe off, I'll normally just kind of wipe off my hands. If I'm not using a baby wipe, in between each person, I am going into sanitizer. Just doing a little bit here and there between each kid. If it's like the same family and like she's holding the baby and then you're painting the sister, obviously I don't care about sanitizing between each person. But if it's like one kid to another, I will be sanitizing my hands. So that's the process.
Lips. Yeah, I read something about Q-tips with lips.
Yes. So I have Q-tips here. So you know the one design that we have that's like the tiger stripes with the blue lips. Okay, so like this one girl is like, I want the blue lips, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the blue lips today. Okay, you know, and depending, so I did, you know, I had this and I totally could have used that blue and I didn't see it, but I only in this kit I had like a, I'm gonna give it to somebody. Yeah. So I had like matte colored, right? And they're not very, as you have used the paints, you know, like the metallic ones are very like liquidy, almost you can like feel it if you touch it. It's like, I don't know, what's the word? Like, not like putty, but yeah, right. It's not like as matte or as hard or dry, okay, as like one of these. So, when I was trying to get it wet, I would just like spray with the regular spray bottle. We have to fill your kit. Spray bottle. And it was like not picking it up enough paint. So I definitely, this is what you know, cardinal rule is normally don't spray your paints, right? I did spray the paint because I made it was nice and wet and I could get it with this, okay? That's when I'll give you the benefit of the doubt to do it then. Yes, go half. Okay. So that's what I would do with the lips. Now, I don't normally like do the lips, you know, like it's not something that's a necessity unless they ask. So I have been, in the past I would just do it with a paintbrush. But it's been asked for a while from many artists to be like, can I have Q-tips to use for the lips? Okay, all right, they're here and you can definitely use some things. So as you can see, my little containers are things from my house. Nothing special. I haven't really seen anything at the store that I'm like, let's get a bulk of like these items. One is in the video, if you watched, or if you, I don't know if she had pictures too, but mason jars. So she had like mason jars, right? I think it needs to be something that has a heavy body, preferably probably glass because they will be heavier. This is pretty sturdy, like it's not really gonna fall over, and it has a nice lid that doesn't have an opening. But she used mason jars and then they were all the same and labeled them, right? As she goes down the line. So I can definitely supply you with these items, or if you have things at home, you have mason jars, like you can use those. So this is something like at home when you're practicing with your paints, you're obviously not gonna get like, you don't wanna get these things out to practice like on yourself. But when you're doing a gig, I just kind of grab things, but like I said, you want them to be things that are sturdy, because if it's just like a plastic cup and you're like rinsing, it's gonna tip over, like it's, you know what I mean? It's not gonna be as, like I'm just afraid a kid's gonna come over and knock your stuff over with all that sanitizer in it. So I would suggest using heavier bottom items. And I just feel like mason jars probably, like if I would go out and buy in bulk, that's the one thing I could think about. But I also don't wanna buy like an entire case of mason jars and then like not need them for the future. So if we need them, we can definitely go get them. If you have things at home, like I said, this is just, this is a blender bottle and just like other containers that I had that worked for this. If those of you at home and you know, you've seen our kits are pretty stocked up, right? Like there's not a lot of room left over. So I was using this caddy to put my things in as I would like go to the party and stuff like that and put all my stuff in there. The other girls, so Sarah and Leah have done gigs and they, I think, just took like a tote and put these in there. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I take this, but then I put it in a tote anyway. It's just a big stand up. So you can do any of that. And again, I can get those things for you here, or if you have stuff at home that would work, we can do that. That came out way faster than I thought it was going to. So yeah, that's the sanitizing process. Again, as always, well, not as always, but 1 sponge per kid. Just make sure we have enough for what is going to be needed. There should be plenty in this kit, and we'll be ordering more too, so that we do have enough. Because I would say, like, how many sponges do you think that you would need? If you could just like say a number.
A party or
just like a normal party?
25 maybe.
Right. So that's like that's your max that you're really gonna need for like a 1 hour party. So you do have a 4-hour gig, right? It's 4 hours. Yes.
And it fit like 100 kids.
Right. We're not necessarily probably gonna bring 100 sponges, so you're just probably just gonna have to be in the routine of like each hour. Go cleaning your sponges, and it's just what it's going to be, you know, because you're gonna want to go, you know, when I did my last gig, it was 1 hour, but I definitely halfway through went and cleaned out my water container. So you could at that time, you know, whenever you clean out your water container, you know, hey, I'll be right back, I have to go get more sponges or clean them out, you know. So feel free to take your time. People know that you are going to take a little bit extra time doing this sanitizing, so that you're keeping them safe, they're seeing that. So it's maybe going to take you an extra, I would say 30 seconds per kid to do this process. It might take an extra 5 or 10 minutes, you know, out of your normal painting time to go clean your sponges and do your water container. But I think that it's things that are definitely at this time needed. So
I also read an article something about giving stickers to separate lines, or
yeah, so you could definitely do that. And I think that's something like there are other face painting companies, and they'll do that. Like they'll just go to a birthday party and there'll be 20 kids, and like they'll just give out 20 stickers and then just call out the line. So I think it's kind of it's a cool idea. It's not something I don't think that's we've utilized or is needed right now. But maybe in the future it might be something, especially at large festivals. And when we do, like, for example, like school carnivals, we've had where the school carnival will do something along that line, you know, like call out numbers or whatever. So we won't you don't necessarily have to worry about that for Saturday. I honestly don't know if you're gonna have like that many people. I don't know. I haven't really seen anything advertised about it, like online or anything. So we're just gonna have to play that by ear. But most kits will have like a small sanitizer. This one, just in particular, because mine has a large one. So just making sure, like, if you ever have a kit or anybody that watches this needs more sanitizer, we can definitely get those supplies to you before you go to a gig. Because I feel like you're not gonna use a lot, but you're gonna use more than like you normally would. So yeah, and if you don't, like, if like you can use these for Saturday, but if you were going to be getting your own little cups and making your own little sanitizing station, I just use masking tape and a Sharpie marker to label. And then after the gig, just because these are household items or mason jars or whatever, I just run them through the dishwasher easily to clean them. And this one, I forgot to take the label off, so the label stayed on through the dishwasher. But yeah, so any other questions?
So yes. That cup rinse, is that just water and brush solution?
This is just water.
Oh, just water.
Yeah, because this will be your brush solution.
Yes.
And it just, because this is a mixture of like the cleaning solution and water, like all mixed together. So that's all that's going to be in here. It's just your sanitizing, cleaning your brush out. And then just because this is kind of slimy is not the word, but like it's residuey. Okay, so I make sure to rinse it after I sanitize it, and then just kind of like wipe it off, because if you don't wipe it off, it'll be like really wet and it's going to take a little while to dry. So just make sure you wipe it off a little bit, then set it to dry. I'd say about every 3 brushes, the first brush is ready. So think about that. Like, you don't want to do all, well, I mean, that's why you have 3. So like if you're using your 3 medium brushes in a row, by the time you're done with that 3rd brush and it's up here, the first brush should hopefully be about dry. It should be ready to use. But yeah, so it's you got water on both sides. You have a initial pick up your water, okay? Then you have your rinse, and then you have your sanitizing, and then you have your rinse. So really it's kind of like this one, after I'm done rinsing it and setting it down, that's when I dump it. So it's like after I'm done with the paintbrush.
Do you want kids to do you want to give them sanitizer before you paint their face? Because they touch, or don't worry about it.
Well, you can. I think it's to their own, you know what I mean, a little bit. If I normally, when I do a gig, I kind of set the sanitizer out anyway. Mm-hmm. So like, just showing we're clean. Do you see it? Look at it. Just any gig, you know, before this even. So they definitely can get the sanitizer. I guess I didn't think about the chair, but like the chair's already there and there's nothing it's not your problem. You know what I mean? That's why, and a lot of times, like I think in that video too, she was like, make sure they've wiped up their face so it's super clean and sanitary. But it's not going to be anything different because you're cleaning your brush out. Each time you're using a separate sponge. So, and also if it's taking a while for their skin to dry, like if they're using a baby wipe, then you have to wait for their skin to dry. And it's just like, it's different if they have like sunscreen on and it's like obvious that they're like messy, then you have to clean it. But I don't think it's necessary to have to sanitize their whole face like before you go into it, if that makes sense. But yeah, you can definitely leave the sanitizer out for them if they want to. Most events I've been to, this one you're going to be doing is the first public. Everything else has been private, like as in it's been at someone's house, like a birthday party. I did do a birthday party last weekend that was in a public venue, but it was again a private birthday party. This will be just people that, there could be most people that don't know each other, you know, at the event. So it may be a little bit different than what I did. There may be more people that are like, can I use your sanitizer? You know, because like I don't know who that person was. I don't know how people are gonna feel about it. But yeah, I think it'll be good, and hopefully. Any other questions with the process of how it goes down?
Oh, one more.
Yes.
Are we, okay, so let's just with Q-tips. Are we avoiding under nose and the eyes?
Yeah, so you definitely can.
Okay.
Again, you're sanitizing in between each thing, so it's not a super big deal. I was like I said, I haven't done a public event, so it's kind of like, I don't know how people are gonna feel a little bit. If the client would say something about it, like if the client was like, I think I did something, either I was gonna do something or I talked with someone about it, and I remember writing it down on the client contract and saying like, just doing cheap designs, avoiding the eyes or something. I don't know what it was. But I think it's to his their own, like, you know, look through the book, and the client will be like, oh, I don't want it around their eyes, you know, or whatever. And like I said, I haven't done a ton of full faces either, so you won't really have to worry about the nose part unless they really want that. And it's to what you feel comfortable too. If you don't want to do the eyes and the nose part, you can be like, hey, I'm just doing cheek designs today, or if we're doing masks, we're going to avoid the eyes, you know. But again, I think it's like per person that's picking out the design. You want to make sure too, as in like, you know, they pick out what they want and they say, I want the tiger. Well, okay, little Johnny, you're 3, you want the tiger? Like, mommy, you want his whole face done, his eyes? Make sure before you do it that they're cool with it. But I haven't really had any, everyone's been like, not feeling any negativity or like weirdness towards the painting yet, but like I said, I haven't done a public event yet, so you're just gonna have to kind of see how that goes. Any other questions?
All right, this is a weird question.
Okay,
doesn't have to do with cleaning.
Okay.
Okay, let's say a kid, like a preteen kid, wants something political on their face, but they don't understand that it's political. Do you do it?
What would be
I'm not kidding.
like wondering what
if a
what
kid,
would be an example?
Like Trump 2020, Biden 2020, like they're just like, you know what I mean? Because they hear things from parents and they're like, oh, I want that on my face.
No, so that I don't think is so bad. I mean, it's not negative towards anyone.
Yeah.
If someone's like, I want a big BLM with an X through it, I would be like, no.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would not, because I've had people, will you draw the little teardrop? And I'm like, no, I won't, because you don't need that in your life, okay? Because you know what it means, and I know what it means, and I'm not gonna do it, okay? You want to do it, go get a Sharpie, okay? So, So yeah, when it comes to like, I feel like when it comes to Trump, Biden, whatever, it's almost like Michigan, Ohio State, where I'm like, I really don't want to paint this M, but I will because I'm paid to be here. It's almost kind of like that, you know? But if it's anything that's against something that you believe in, not with political sides like that, but you do not have to do it.
Okay.
If it's derogatory to someone else or something like that, for sure you don't have to. I had this kid when I was doing caricatures asked if I would draw him in a noose, and I was like, no, I won't do it. So yeah, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Fantastic. Okay, so that was the sanitizing process. I will upload the video or the link so everyone can check it out, because I think they do a great job. I mean, it's like great lighting. You can see everything. To have the camera over, it's great. A little bit better than what I had here, but then you can kind of see the process. And again, so I've done, let's say, a handful, 6 maybe gigs since June, right? Face painting. And when I first had to do it, I was like, the one brush, one single drop in the paint, that is difficult. That is something that is not I'm used to, right? And the last gig I did, I feel like I did a really good job of like going through each one time. I think it took me a little bit longer than I normally would painting, but I was really trying to like go through that sanitation process. And you know, do your best, and just make sure that once you do use the sanitizer, this thing, you want to make sure it's rinsed really good and dry, fairly dry before you use it, because you could even, like, if you smell it, and you can, like, I can't even really smell the sanitizer stuff on it anymore because it's like evaporated. So you just want to make sure that like that isn't gonna get like into their eyes or anything. So I would, about the eyes part, I would probably avoid doing like eyeliner on anyone, because you are going through with this like cleaner, and it's not sitting for 24 hours or anything crazy like that. But again, it's all like, everything else is good except this is the strong stuff, right? With the sanitizer in between each person. So you just make sure that's rinsed and dried. But yeah, so should be good. If anybody has any questions when you watch this, let me know.